Howdy folks, Justin here. Isle of Madness comes out in just 24 hours or less. And so I have prepared here a checklist of 10 badass things to try to pull off with the new cards. Hopefully you guys are interested in getting in on the fun and want to take me up on the challenge. Some of these are pretty interesting. Some of them are going to be exceptionally hard to do. But they are just 10 really cool things you can do with Isle of Madness cards. So let's start off with number 1, Mad Dash. Now Mad Dash, 2 magic action, move a creature. That creature gets +1/+1 for each enemy creature in that lane. Well, what are you going to do with Mad Dash? So this one's pretty specific. We're going to start off with a big one. It's turn 12. Your opponent played Conscription the turn before, and you have a poor, innocent Caravan Enforcer and something large and threatening. That's key here, because that's going to get shackled. Your Caravan Enforcer is just kind of sitting there sad out for the count. Okay? Now, you have 12 Magicka to work with. So with 3 Magicka, you play Dune Smuggler, and your Caravan Enforcer becomes a 4/4. You play a second Dune Smuggler, and your Enforcer becomes a 7/7. You play a Mad Dash, it becomes a 14/14, a second Mad Dash, a 21/21, and that third Mad Dash brings it up to 28/28. Hopefully in the first 12 turns of the game, you did 2 damage to your opponent, and you win. That's how you do that. That is 12 Magicka worth of stuff, and that is a 5-card combo. Throw in a Suppress if you think that your opponent might interfere with this. All the cards involved are green, so you should be able to pick whatever color you want to do this in. Number 2, Gnarl Rootbender is a pretty interesting one. 5/4 for 5. When you target it with an action, draw a card. When anybody targets it with an action, draw a card. This one's a little less specific than my first proposal. But with Gnarl Rootbender, what I think that you really want to do with this, besides just playing it, because if it gets targeted and removed, you're up a card compared to what your opponent's at, is playing it alongside Leafwater Blessing. Leafwater Blessing, Swindler's Market, Thieves Guild Fence are all green cards. The interaction works where you draw it from your discard pile. Leafwater Blessing when you gain life. If you have 2 Thieves Guild Fences in play, it costs 0. So when you play it, Swindler's Market triggers and then you get it back. So you repeat ad infinitum. Well, one of the things you can do with Leafwater Blessing is play it on your... play it on your Gnarl Rootbender and draw a boatload of cards. So you can just kind of progress the deck that way. It is not something specific with this one, but it is a really cool interaction that I'm looking forward to trying out and looking forward to playing that deck in Assassin. You're going to need like a giant bat or something like that to get the Leafwater Blessing out of your discard file the first time after you just start cycling. But I think it provides a nice little boost to that build. Number 3, Darkfire Seducer. This is a really cool one. I'm sorry, Seducer Darkfire. This one lets you choose a number. People can't play that number. This one's really straightforward. Play this card, choose 69. I'm just kidding. No. The real number 3 is Gates of Madness, and this one's also very straightforward. Just play Gates of Madness. Like, the randomness here is beautiful. Like, it's not a good card. Don't get me wrong, it's not a good card at all. You're never going to get what you need when you play this. I mean, you're going to, like, 1% of the time. But that's fine, because Gates of Madness is obviously just a fun card to play with. Don't put it in your Unite the Houses deck. That's not going to... You're better off playing every other Unite the Houses deck anybody's ever built. Just play Gates of Madness. That's on the list. Try this card out. Number 4, Lady Syl's Cruelty. This is 2 Magicka action. Sacrifice creature, add Magicka to your Magicka pool that turn. I'm using the wrong terminology here, but equal to its attack. Cool. So here's what you do with this. Turn 4, you play Bog Lurcher. You let it live for a turn, that shouldn't be too hard. And in turn 5, you sacrifice it with Lady Seal's Cruelty, and you summon Dagoth. This is... I mean, I don't think it's actually terribly unreasonable. I think it's going to be pretty exciting when it happens, and turn 5 Dagoth is pretty awesome. So, give this one a shot. Number 5, Knight of Order. This one is pretty interesting. You silence all the creatures in that lane. My proposal for something really cool to do with this is pretty specific, actually. You're going to need to play Knight of Order into a lane that's been silenced and shackled by an opposing red Brahmin and get the surprise lethal that way. If you can mark this one off your list, I mean, this is like the center of the bingo. This one's pretty hard to pull off. Actually, not nearly as hard as something else in this list, but a couple of them actually. But this is a really cool one, a surprise one. It'll be fun to play with. Bonus points if one of the creatures in this lane is Imprisoned Deathlord, and it seems to me like you'd like to play Imprisoned Deathlord and catapults alongside this card anyway. So, yeah, that is my proposal for Knight of Order. I mean, you can, of course, go turn 1 Catapult, turn 2 Catapult, turn 3 Imprisoned Deathlord, turn 4 Knight of Order, swing for 17, which is pretty cool, too. And I thought about making that you know, my proposed cool thing to do, but this one seems more exciting and challenging. Number 6 on my list is Eager Torturer. This is a 3 magic, a 2/2. When you sacrifice a creature, it gets +2/+2. Well, the good news here is that when you play a creature on top of another creature in a lane, it counts as sacrificing it, because you are kind of sacrificing it. You know, it's not, you don't have to Cruel Firebloom sacrifice to pull this, to make this thing trigger. So my proposal for this one is this, and this actually might be a reasonable deck in general. The Abomination, the Scout Abomination, Petamax's Abomination list. I've played it several times in the channel. It's one of the strongest decks that I really enjoy playing. Sacrifices tons of its creatures. Sometimes in a single turn goes through 30, 40 cards and goes absolutely nuts. Just sacrificing creature after creature thanks to Thieves Guild Fence, Disciple of Namira. Well, if you put this into Telvanni, this build, and I've actually done something kind of like this with Telvanni before, but if you put this build into Telvanni, you can throw in a nice little combo. If you have 12 Magicka to work with, starting off, you can OTK your opponent, right? Because you're going to need to play, well, 12, I mean, the minimum required to pull this off is 8, because you need to play a Mentor's Ring, and you need to play an Eager Torturer. But using the Abomination Shell in that sort of deck, you should be able to, alongside Thieves Guild Fence and Disciples of Namira, play a Eager Torturer onto the board the same turn that you churn through your list, and use a Mentor's Ring onto a Shadowmare or Giant Bat or the new Crazed Hunger. The 2 cost 0/2 that gets +2/+0 in charge, +2/+0 on your turn has charge, and you should be able to OTK your opponent fairly straightforwardly actually with this, and that's one that I think is actually going to be pretty strong. So I'm going to go ahead and try that one out. All right, number 7 is cereal. Cereal is, of course, delicious with milk. You can add blueberries, or you can add sugar, all sorts of stuff like that. So enjoy yourself. No, I'm just kidding. Cereal is a 3/3 for 3 with Pilfer. Reduce the cost of the top card of your deck by 6. Or 3. Sorry, we'll get to the 6th part. Now, reduce the top card of your deck by 3. There's a ton of RNG in this card, and I know a lot of people are kind of unhappy with that, but I want to point out that the RNG that this card involves is actually the same RNG that you kind of sign up for when you play a card game. It's just draw RNG. There's you know, a couple ways to know what's going on the top of your deck. Well, really just, well, it doesn't matter. But my point is that, yes, the discount is going to affect a card randomly, but it's the same card that you're going to draw that turn anyway. The RNG, of course, is like, is it a card that's worth discounting? But I digress. What you need to do with this guy is going to be impossible to set up. So good luck. But what you need to do is, with the ring, play Cereal on turn 2, and then on turn 3, attack with Cereal, and then attack again with Swift Strike, which you conveniently have in your hand in your Singleton deck, because then on turn 4, you're playing Siege of Stros-Makai. Ideally, your Siege of Stros-Makai then hits a Mushroom Tower and a Tharana, because you're playing Telvanni, and you just kind of go nuts from there. That's not essential to pull off, but either way, I think Swift striking a Cereal into some, you know, super high cost card is something that everybody needs to experience at least once when this expansion comes out. So number 8 is Transmogrify, which is a pretty cool card, and one that I think is actually easier to break than it first appears. Transmogrify 7 Magicka action, sacrifice creature, put the next creature in your deck into play. That's pretty straightforward ability, and you can really control this a lot. And it reminds me a lot of what we tried to do with Apex Wolf. By we, I mean idiots like me, where you ran, like, in that case it was Stealer of Secrets. And Stealer of Secrets could definitely be something that you do with this. You have a bare minimum of creatures in your deck. You know, Stealer of Secrets Mage, for instance, can produce tokens a number of ways, and then you transmogrify a Stealer of Secrets out. You know, that could be a thing. You could use your Mentor's Ring and your Shadowmare if you have 13 Magicka, so you're going to need the ring to pull that off. But that's definitely something you could do. But that's not nearly the scale at which I'm talking about here. I think Transmogrify is actually a great addition to Creatureless Battle Mage, which sounds kind of crazy at first, but the Creatureless Battle Mage actually generates quite a few creatures, thanks to Skeever Infestation. And here's all you gotta do to make this fun. Just add Alduin to that deck. It's basically going to function as a second red year. Sometimes you're going to draw and not be able to play it, but that deck usually doesn't like run out of resources. You generally have a ton of cards because you're getting beat in the face, and you have multiple copies of Revealing the Unseen, Battle Mage's Onslaught, and stuff like that to continue churning through and generating new cards. So I think adding Alduin to Creatureless Battle Mage and a copy of Transmogrify, you're going to be 50-50 to draw the Transmogrify before the Alduin. I think that's worth it for adding an effect as powerful as Alduin to a deck that, cannot run creatures. And you conceivably with Transmogrify, you could get it out turn 6, turn 7, so on and so forth, and you're never actually playing Alduin. I mean, I guess it's possible. There are some ways you could get Alduin into play, but Transmogrify, Alduin, Creatureless Battle Mage is definitely something I'm doing, so. Alright, coming in at number 9, we have Great Root Elder. This is the card right here. It says, Hail Comrade. I don't know what this says. It's a 5 Magicka, 4/5 with Guard. It says if it's in your opening hand, on that first turn, you're going to have an extra Magicka, right? So you're going to need the Ring of Magicka to pull this off. You're going to need 3 of these in your hand. This needs to be your starting hand. And then you need to be able to play one of these, thanks to it and its brothers, on turn 1. Is that good? No, you're probably going to end up losing the game because you have 2 5-cost cards stuck in your hand. But you do have a 4/5 out on turn 1, which is pretty cool, and currently not something you can do in the game. So I would definitely recommend trying that. Generally speaking, though, I actually think Great Root Elder is a lot better than the thing people are giving it credit for. I think 4/5 guard, 5 Magicka for a 4/5 guard is a reasonable rate in the kind of deck that wants to ramp something out early. I don't think this card is meant to like cheat and aggressive stuff out. I think this card is more meant to, like, say, start your guard plan. Lay down a Barrow Stalker, lay down a Ward Crafter even, or just something that you want to use to protect yourself to get to a point where, hey, a 4/5 guard's pretty good because I've been stonewalling my opponent this whole game so far. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. 3 of these opening hand, Ring of Magicka, play one of them turn 1. Alright, finally we have Fork of Horripilation, revealed by Charmer. I had some time to do some math on this. So here's what you're going to need to do. There's a variant of this which is going to be infinitely harder to pull off, but here's what you need to do. You need to have a Palmar Rot Renegade, the cat, the 4/6 for 5 that has Slay, draw a card, in play. You're going to need to equip the fork to it and give it lethal with a Skooma Racketeer or the new Feldu action, part of the split card. So once it has lethal and 1 power, you play Unstoppable Rage on it. You also, coincidentally, have 3 Brotherhood Sanctuaries in play. And your Unstoppable Rage into that full lane will draw you 112 cards. And if that's not good enough, and look, I know 112 cards seems kind of amateurish, so I stepped it up just a bit here. If you somehow manage to get hold of if you manage to get Brotherhood Sanctuaries, Unstoppable Rage, and Cicero together in the same deck, okay, you can actually draw 140 cards if you buff Cicero's power above 1. So that is what you can do. But yeah, draw 112 cards. You're going to lose the game. I mean, you're actually going to die when you do this. But first of all, the animation's going to be sweet. It's going to take a long time. I mean, that's worth something. And at the end of the day, you drew more cards in a single turn than I think anybody's ever drawn in Legends until this card is out. And I do this on day 1, hopefully. And that's a moral victory. That's worth something. So yeah, the expansion's coming out tomorrow. I'm so goddamn excited. I'll be streaming tomorrow at Thursday the 24th at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, where we'll be doing all sorts of crazy shit, and I look forward to seeing you there. Madness is here, guys. Oh man. See you on the ladder.